Hey, this is the World Advice Channel. What I want to talk about today is a topic that, of course, a lot of people are I have on their mind now because it's been in the news, and people are very contested on it, which is a topic of South Korea banning the sale of dog meat. Now, this is a very controversial topic, the consumption of dog meat. Some people are absolutely for it, some people are absolutely against it, and so on and so forth. So, for this video, I will give my opinion on it in a very logical and factual way so you can see what is the better, if this is a good idea or not. So, anyway, let's get started. So, when it comes to the topic of dog meat, what do I think about the topic of South Korea eating dog meat? Now, to answer the question of the answer to this question in a straightforward way, do I think South Korea banning the sale of dog meat is a good idea? The simple answer to that question, believe it or not, is yes. Because the truth of the matter about dog meat is that the problem with dog meat is that there's two main problems with it. Actually, three main problems with the sale and consumption of dog meat. Which which before I get into the, of course, the last two, I'll get into the first one. The first problem with dog meat is that there's something referred to as a loophole. Now, this loophole is very real and it has been shown before, particularly in China and in South Korea. I believe it could still happen too, which is a loophole of what if somebody wants to keep a dog as a pet, but at the same time, somebody wants to obviously, you know, eat dog meat. Now, this is a question, of course, that's very controversial. It gets a lot of people angry. But the truth of the matter is, there have been many times people have had their dogs kidnapped in order for it to be killed and sold as dog meat. This is not a myth or this and that. This is actual facts. This has happened before in China, and even there's been reports of it in Japan as well, which is a very developed country. So if it happens there, then I'm certain it can happen in South Korea, as you know, too. So the truth of the matter is, dog meat and the consumption of dog meat just opens loopholes. Because what if you have a dog that's a very strong dog that's all over the place, and tends to be of a breed that tends to be maybe more muscular or has a certain feature to it that makes it more likely to, in the eyes of people, to be a better breed to eat because it has obviously a lot of muscle that someone might want to eat it, or certain types of dogs. For just like there's chickens, certain types of chickens are preferred over other types of chickens. Just like for dog meat, I'm certain there are certain breeds that would be preferred over other breeds. So what do you think is going to happen? And that's the first reason why I believe this was a good idea. Now, the second reason, and to go alongside that fact, which of course the most important reason, is it just simply comes down to just simply the fact of eating dog meat itself. Because a problem with eating dog meat, um, is that the problem with it is that it just doesn't really make any sense no matter how you look at it. And yes, I'll add the third point along with the second point, just to make things simple and straight to the point. The truth of the matter is, the problem with eating dog meat is simply the fact that not only is dog meat, from what people have described it as being very bland and full of bones to the point that it's not really that enjoyable to eat in any way, shape, or form whatsoever, which kind of brings up the question of like, okay, what's the point of eating it? The other point to go alongside that point, to go along with it, is simply the fact that the problem with dog meat is that it opens up a lot of questions that are very moral and even just down to just simply common sense, which is the fact that whenever people eat meat, there should be a limit on what meats people can eat. Okay? Because if you're gonna just live in a world where everyone just eats every and anything because every meat is available, then it can create a lot of chaos in the animal kingdom, because then it's a case of we're not just eating this one particular species, we're eating all of these particular species, which, as you already see in China, a lot of animals are killed. Literally every animal you can imagine is killed. Even tigers are killed for their meat. Is it necessarily for as like for the reasons you eat, they kill like deer or stuff? Not as much, but they still eat it. They still kill it and eat it. So How that relates to dogs, aside from the fact, how that relates to dogs is that saying that, okay, we're going to ban dogs is going to set a good precedent for that particular issue. Okay. Because obviously, if you set a precedent, okay, we're going to stop eating dog meat, which of course has been a very controversial issue and this and that, it sets a precedent of, okay, there should be limits. Because the more and more people just feel like they can eat every and anything, you know, you know, which, every and anything, it just creates problems. Am I saying all Asians eat every and anything? No. But there is a good portion of them who are open to eating every animal. And that's a problem though, because that's an ecological disaster and that destroys the environment and all that type of stuff. Literally every Asian nation has every animal you can pretty much imagine is critically endangered. Now, is it just due to industrialization? Not necessarily just due to industrialization. It's because the people there are open to eating all sorts of things. Now, I'm not talking down on Asian people, but I'm just speaking honest truth. These are facts. These are things people don't want to admit, but it's true. A lot of people in those countries are open to eating all sorts of things. So if you take away dog meat, says a president, okay, we can't just have all these things, eat all these things. Look at all the animals throughout the world that have been affected. So just even African elephants have been affected and killed for their tusks, for herbal medicines and all that type of stuff. So doing this would, of course, set a good precedent to ending that, which would, of course, prevent the environmental issues that they have. And to go alongside that fact, it also comes down to the fact that obviously, morally, if people just eat every and anything and are open to eating every and anything, okay, um, it kind of brings up questions that are not really necessary. Besides, dogs are good at companion animals. Not only are dogs good companion animals, they actually have many different uses and so on and so forth. So to eat them, when as it's already been confirmed, they don't even taste that good. From what a lot of people have admitted, it's just kind of pointless. It's like, what's the point? In all honesty, and morally, what does it say about the people of the nation? Because South Korea, Japan, and even China, which have their issues, are a lot more developed than they were centuries ago. So what's the point of eating all those type of creatures? What's the point? What does it really prove? They have long histories. They have their own culture. They have their own writing system and this and that. Saying, oh, we can eat every and anything doesn't prove much of culture. That's what these people always make the argument. Well, it's their culture. 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 But there's so much stuff to define our culture. It's just kind of pointless to say, oh, eating all these animals really proves anything. What does that prove? Nothing really. What does it prove? It doesn't prove anything. Not to mention, it brings up the question: if people are open to eating all these animals, then and open to eating up everything, then what do they believe in? What do they stand for? And that's a problem with eating all sorts of animals. It brings up those type of ethical questions. Like what? We're gonna live in a world where live in a nation where people say, oh, tigers are my favorite animals, so what, I want to eat them? And it brings up those type of questions. And those questions are not very good and very comfortable questions for any group of people to ask. You know, not to mention, obviously, to go alongside that fact of eating every and anything, it brings up the question: what happens when things get really bad? Are even humans open up to being eaten? And I'm not trying to be racist against Asians, saying, "Oh, Asians, you guys eat everything," and blah 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 blah. Like some people in this day and age, especially on the internet, try to put in words in your mouth all the time to say all the time and all this stuff and stuff. Saying, I'm not trying to say that. Okay. What I'm just trying to say is that it's good for people to not do certain things to bring up questions like that. Because it can actually really kind of screw up a society of people. Because if you want to eat anything, then what happens when a situation gets really bad? Crisis can happen anytime. COVID, if anything, showed that. So what? You're now going to start eating other people? That's what I'm trying to say. That's why certain societies need to realize certain ways of thinking should be monitored, okay? Because at the end of the day, everything in life needs to have a boundary put on it. Because if everyone just does every and anything, it can cause problems, and that's what I'm trying to say, though. So that's what I'm trying to say, and that's why I believe banning this thing is a good idea. It's controversial, but no matter how you look at it, it actually makes more sense than it doesn't make sense. So anyway, this is my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, remember to hit thumbs up this video and subscribe. And that's all I have to say, and simply put it, later.